Following up after an interview is pretty simple and self explanatory, but I wanted to cover it as a separate module just because it is distinct. The essence of this process is send the personalized thank you notes to everyone that you interview after each interview. So, after the screening interview, after the in person interview, after the interview with the hiring manager. So it feels like I already said thank you to this person, and it makes a difference. The other piece, though, is even though you're doing this with some level of frequency, brevity is also important. People don't have a big attention span, so they're happy to have you cross their radar in a positive and brief way that's really easy for them to have a positive association with you. So the thank you note is the time to clean up things that you had some concern about during the interview. And introverts, this is a classic introvert behavior. We will think of the best thing to say 10 minutes after the conversation. So you probably left the interview and you thought, oh, forehead slap, why didn't I tell that detail? Or how come I use that example instead of the other example? And here's your opportunity. So in the thank you note, just include something about the question that has stayed with you and this extra detail that you wanted to add, or you'd like to actually, upon reflection, you're thinking that you want to revise your response and give that response. Also remind them of your fit and why, and then tell them of your continued interest. So you will see the handout for this module does have some examples in there as well as some tips. Here's another piece around the waiting phase, which can feel really difficult because you're all jazzed up and imagining yourself in this role and really dreaming into what it could be. And they're dragging their feet. And you're thinking, well, what's wrong? And usually you're thinking, what's wrong with me? And quite often it's just their attention is somewhere else. They're trying to put out fires wherever they are, or their budget got just completely ripped open and they're scrambling to try to figure out how to make this higher. So often it has nothing to do with you, and it's just them trying to keep their head above water. So when you leave an interview, you should always know what are the next steps. And if you've left without having asked that question, it's fine for you to send a follow-up note a few days later to your email connection and say, oh, I'm curious about your timeline for when you'll be making this decision. I wanted to just check in and see. And you can use that as part of the thank you note too, if it was absolutely you didn't you didn't get that question answered during the interview. But you should be marking your calendar, and also you can use this on your goals Excel spreadsheet to check in with people regularly. You know, if they say, well, it'll be 2 weeks, mark your calendar for 2 weeks and send them an email or give them a call. And then if they until they give you a very definitive no, you just do small probes on the timeline that they offer you until you get a very clear no. So what that also looks like on your Excel goals spreadsheet is a line for your daily actions is to check your calendar or your list of submissions to see if the time has surfaced for you to do another check-in to see where things are. And basically all it is can you give me a status update? I remain interested in this position. I'm hoping to hear about where you are in the process. Also, even if you are not selected for a role, you just met all these great people through this process who are in your industry and who should be in your LinkedIn sphere. So you should be sending personalized invitations via LinkedIn to everyone that you felt like you had a good vibe with during the interview process. Now, wait until the decision has been made. So once the decision has been made, get yourself there on the job if you are hired, and then during that first month, make a point of sending out those personalized LinkedIn invitations. If you're not selected, still go ahead and send the LinkedIn invitations and say, oh, I was sorry not to be selected for this role, but I want to make sure that we stay connected here on LinkedIn, because those people sometimes will go to another organization that is very similar, or there may be a position that opens up on another team and they're alert to you and you're in their recent memory. So it's just an important way to organically and authentically add to your LinkedIn network.